Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up with me, Rachel King. This is where we leave convention at the courtroom door and dive into your real stories, bold and unpopular opinions, and change-making ideas that really shake the legal world up and change where change is desperately needed. I'm here to shake it up, talk about unfiltered insights, and amplify voices that need to be heard. So are you ready? Let's get it. Put the gavels down and the voices up. Welcome back to Gavels Down, Voices Up. Today, we're tackling an absolutely crucial but often overlooked aspect of legal planning, like wills, trusts, inheritance dispute, all of the fun things. This is one of the family dramas that I think often goes overlooked, but we're going to break it down today. So one of the things that I think is very interesting about wills and trusts is that many people are afraid to do it, right? And it's very uncomfortable, and I can totally understand that. I don't like doing it for myself, but I do, because we're thinking about our own mortality, right? And that's really, really hard to do. So what I do, and when I go into it, not only on a personal level, but also when I'm talking to my clients, is I think this. I have 3 young children. One of them, well, I say young, but actually one of them is now a legal adult. Let me tell you, that made my estate planning go a whole lot easier. Nonetheless, I have one child who's 19 years old, and then I have one who is 10 and one who is 13. Okay, so when I go into my estate plan and I'm trying to think about wills and trusts, which is basically what's going to happen to all of my stuff when I die, who's going to take care of my kids, the whole nine, it's devastating. Like, I don't want to think about that. So then I take a pause and I think, oh my gosh, if I die, right? If my husband dies, the father of my kids, then my children's life is going to be shattered, right? There's just no way around the fact that their entire existence, their entire world is going to implode on itself or whatever, implode, right? It's going to be a total mess. Because they will have lost both of their parents. Even if it's just me, they will have lost their mother. Or if it's just dad, they will have lost their dad. So what can I do to make what is already going to be a truly life-changing situation a little bit less devastating? For me personally, it's setting them up so that they can continue to carry on as much of the life that I would have wanted them to have, as much as of the life that they were used to, and really give them the tools in place so that they can overcome this immense tragedy, this huge amount of grief, and continue to live on. When I think of it that way, it's a little bit easier because as a mom, I want to set my kids up for success, and I always want to be the best mom that I can be. So I look at estate planning from that perspective, and it makes it a little bit easier. When your kids are older, so now maybe they're grown and they have their kids and maybe their kids have their kids, you're not maybe looking at it from the same exact perspective. I'm not there yet, but I would imagine that even when you're in your 70s, 80s, even 90 years old, you still want to be the best parent that you can be for your children and meet them wherever they are in life. For those same reasons, you want to handle your estate plan. You want to set it up so that you can have whatever you want to have happen happens, whether that's giving it to your children or giving it to a new spouse, or maybe you give it to charity, and that's totally fine too. If you have any issues like a child that is constantly in trouble with the law, or maybe there's addiction issues, you want to address all of those in your estate plan so that whatever you want to have happen actually happens. And that way, not only are you back in control of your own life, right? Postmortem control, who doesn't love that? But you're also setting your family members, your friends, the charities, whoever you want to inherit from you with success. Another thing that estate planning does, will aside, is it really handles who's going to be in charge of you if you have some kind of situation where you can no longer take care of yourself. So in this situation, you're still alive, right? I'm still alive. Maybe I have a heart attack, a stroke, maybe I have dementia or some kind of eye cancer or eye disease that's going to take away my eyesight. All of these, as we age, are going to really impair our ability to care for ourselves. So what then? Right? Who do I want to make sure that I get to live this fabulous lifestyle that I've become accompanied or used to? I want to make sure that that continues to happen. And just because maybe I can't get out of bed doesn't mean I want to be holed up somewhere or whatever the case may be. Another consideration of an estate plan is if you have a child who or a family member who is reliant on you as an adult and you want to set them up for success. So think Down syndrome, any developmental disability that is going to require you to continue to look out for your child even after 18. These are all of the situations that we can solve, all of the problems that we can address and solve through estate planning. Estate planning, as you see, as you just heard, is more than just distributing assets. It's all about ensuring peace and protecting the relationships and your assets after you're gone, during your lifetime if something happens to you, and after you're gone. Setting up what you want to have happen so that you know that you are on this earth and you are leaving this earth exactly in the package that you want to. And you know what? I'll tell you a secret. If you want to leave it in utter, total chaos because you're not here anymore, totally fine. That is a perfectly valid decision to make, but you want to make it based on information. You want to make an educated decision. You don't want to just be like, well, I left it a mess because I didn't think twice, right? Think twice and then make your decision. Okay, so let's go back and talk really about the why of a will and a trust and an estate plan. I touched on it briefly previously, but let's look at an estate plan as an overall plan to help handle not only what's going to happen to all of your stuff when you pass away. That's one thing. Who's going to get the house? Who's going to get the bank accounts? But also who's going to be in charge and what is going to happen if you find yourself in a situation where you can no longer care for yourself. We have default laws. So let's say you never do a will or a trust or an estate plan. We have default laws in place that are going to handle who's going to be in charge, who's going to inherit, all of that. That can require a court process. In California, it can be a fairly lengthy and expensive court processes. I love living in California, but I will say, being licensed in the other states that I am, I have become aware just of how expensive and lengthy the court process is for probate. So even if you say, like, I want my kids to inherit, that's fine. The laws are probably set up to have that happen. But again, if you are in a blended family, if you are married on your second or third marriage that happened when your children were adults, if you have a child or a significant other or somebody else in your family that you are providing long-term care for, maybe a developmental disability, if you have a child or a family member that is on drugs or has addiction issues or is in and out of jail, or maybe there's just somebody in your family, a kid, a spouse, an ex-spouse that you think is super problematic and you just don't want them to inherit, all of those reasons are why you do your estate plan. And now for a quick break. This episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up is proudly brought to you by King Law Firm, Attorneys at Law Incorporated. We're not just about winning cases, we're about making a difference. Whether it's family law, probate litigation, or standing up against elder abuse, we bring experience, empathy, and excellence to the courtroom. At King Law Firm, we're more than lawyers. We're your team, in your corner, advocating for your rights and making your voice heard. Visit us at thelawyerking.com and on the socials at The Lawyer King to see how we can fight for you and with you. King Law Firm, Attorneys at Law Incorporated, where your fight becomes our fight. Now let's get back to today's episode. You can do your estate plan all the way up until you lack capacity. At least in California, the capacity that you need is lower than like contractual capacity. So there's a very long time that you can make your estate plan. In fact, I've had clients that have had actual diagnoses of Alzheimer's and are still able to do their estate plan because of where they are on the scale and how serious and advanced their disease is. So just because something has happened doesn't necessarily mean you can't do an estate plan. I like to say it's never too late. Let's always step in and do it. Or at least look into it. I do all of the contests, so maybe there is a time where it's too late, but that's under a contest situation, and we'll touch a little bit about that at the end. So estate planning, it protects your future, it protects your family's future, it protects your assets' future, and because we're all super controlling individuals, it allows you to control your assets post-mortem from 6 feet under. All right, so certainly doing a will and a trust is helpful and it can put your wants on paper, but that doesn't actually talk about the contest part, the people that are disputing all of this, and they can really be a thorn in your side, or maybe not your side because you will be deceased, but somebody else's side. That person that you specifically didn't want to inherit or didn't want to be in charge comes in, files in court, and really causes a problem, implodes the whole family even more. While we're all going through the grieving process, this other person can't let it lie and uses this to fuel the fire. A properly done estate plan with certain measures taken can not necessarily prevent that entirely, because we can't stop people from suing, but it can certainly eliminate that or reduce the likelihood. As you're going through an estate plan, if you have a problem person or if you have something that you think is going to cause the whole family to go to garbage, then you want to make sure that you talk to an estate plan and really work through that. Don't be scared to be like, so my daughter is super controlling and I think she's going to bully all of her siblings, and she also has some financial problems. There's a really good chance she might try and misappropriate some funds. So I want her way far away from the control. I only want her to get X amount of dollars over a certain period of time. Oh, and remember, she's an alcoholic. So I want to make sure that she is not using alcohol and making poor decisions as she inherits. All of those things are really important to talk through so that we can put in measures that prevent the horrible contest. I can tell you, again, right now my firm is primarily focused on complex litigation in these cases where we have conservatorship contests, trust and will contests, people coming in and being problematic. And it's really because if it's not set up right, it's hard. It's hard sometimes to say, this is what Grandma wanted. Grandma's not here to testify. So we're looking at all of the pieces put together. So the more evidence that we have and the more steps we can take while we're alive, the better it's going to be for everybody down the road. The bottom line is you don't want people guessing, especially bad people guessing or saying what you want to have happen. So as you focus and now you're totally overwhelmed and you're like, oh my gosh, everything's going to go to hell and I don't even know where to start, take a breath and just think about what you want to have happen. Most of us have some kind of idea already. We want this child to inherit a house, or we think it would be really great for our grandkids to go to college, or we really love that charity I always give to St. Jude's Children's, and I want to make sure that they inherit some of what I've earned. Who do you want to be in charge? Just start thinking of it. You don't have to pen it down yet. Maybe open up that dialogue with your significant other or your children or your confidant. Set up an appointment with an attorney just to get information. If you find yourself at a point where you're like, I'm just shutting down, I'm not doing it, you've gone too far. Take a step back, take a breath, and let's start over again. It can be really, really hard to get through an estate plan, but they can save a lot of money and a lot of time down the road. Not to mention, a really well done estate plan can allow your family members to grieve you properly, to mourn your loss, to remember you, and to work through that phase instead of having to fight or search or guess where everything is and what you wanted to have happen. I've seen families even argue over the toothbrush. I tell my kids, oh my God, don't fight over my used toothbrush. That is so stinking disgusting. Throw it away. I will leave money for you to buy new toothbrushes. Obviously, in that case where that family was, there was some emotional issues that were going on, but really fighting over a toothbrush. I've also seen family members that were fighting over an estate of $500,000 or $600,000. For most of us, $500,000 or $600,000 is a lot of money, nothing to sneeze at, life-changing. But the conflict was so much that at the end of it, really the only people that won are the attorneys. Now, that's job security for me, but honestly, I'm a really big fan, ironically, of staying out of conflict. How can I take a conflicted situation and get my clients, and myself if it's personal, out of it with the least amount of harm? Think about an estate plan. Take the steps. Explore a trust in your jurisdiction. Look at how you own your property. Is your house joint ownership? Should it be somewhere else? Are there other things in play? I really think that in 2024, it's important to remind you that if you're not married, your partner simply is not protected under the law. If you want them to be protected, then you even more need to both come together and look at how to create an estate plan that protects each other. So estate planning really can save the day. If it's not done, I tell people it's not the end of the world, but we have laws in place, but it can really be chaotic. As hard as it is for you to sit down and go through this yourself or with your family, just remember that it's your way of leaving this earth packaged however you want to go. It's your opportunity to control what you've created, your entire lifetime's worth of memories and stuff and your entire existence. Control it and leave it however you want when you pass away. So as you think through how you want to estate plan and what yours looks like, remember, reach out to a really proficient estate planning attorney, somebody that you can trust, that you can talk to. Think about what you want to have happen. I think goals are always the way to go. You figure out what you want to have happen, and then any good estate planning attorney is going to be able to backwards plan for you. If you find yourself in a situation where your family member, your spouse, your parents, your grandparents did not estate plan, or there is family conflict, get yourself, I'm going to point to myself, a really great attorney that has a huge amount of experience and knows how to handle these contested situations or these sticky family situations, because very quickly the money can dry up. And you don't want that. You want to respect the person that passed away and do what you can for them. With that, don't wait till it's too late. Estate planning is a gift that you can give to yourself and to your family. If you have any questions about starting your estate plan or you have an experience to share, your story really can help other people. My stories help other people. Your stories help other people. Share your stories. Let everybody know that we're not in this alone, that it's scary for everybody to think about our mortality, but it's the right thing to do. Join us next time when we dive into the world of real estate law. Because real estate comes up a lot in estate planning too, and how to protect your property. Thanks for tuning in to Gavels Down, Voices Up. Like what you heard? Then don't just sit there. Subscribe, share, and tell me your thoughts. I'm Rachel King, bringing not just my opinions to the mic, but about the courtroom too. Your part, keep listening, keep engaging, and until next time, let's keep those gavels down and our voices up. Unmistakably up.